Have I talked about the recent controversy with AOC? What is the recent controversy with AOC? Not wanting to endorse what race in California? The San Francisco. Okay. So someone is running for a position in San Francisco, and AOC didn't feel inclined to like full-throatedly endorse. Doesn't really seem like a controversy to me. The controversy I heard was some factions of DSA disingenuously not wanting to support AOC after meeting their litmus test, and then still saying we're not going to endorse you. But she got like the overwhelming endorsement of DSA in New York City. AOC's former chief of staff is running for Congress, and people like Crystal Ball have been very critical of AOC for that and other reasons. Why? I just don't understand what the controversy is. The controversy is AOC's former chief of staff is running for Congress, and that people have been critical of AOC. That doesn't seem like a controversy. That just seems like, okay, that's the thing that's happening. Like I don't know. We currently have like the Trump administration shitting itself to death live on television every night, and like that AOC not fully endorsing like her former chief of staff in a race, or like, you know, giving a not super perfect answer, that these are not issues to me. It's Pelosi's seat. Yeah. I don't know. Like, a lot of people were really hung up on the fact that, like, and I read an Axios article about this earlier today about how, you know, 500 members of DSA voted against like giving her the endorsement, and then you like go and actually read what happened, and it was like 6,300 voted to endorse her. Like, this is not. Like, the controversy is being manufactured by people who hate AOC. It's not like a broad swath of the left that hates AOC. Very clearly. Can't people work together but have different opinions? Exactly, yes. Also, as far as I can tell, like, the reason this is a controversy is the New York Post. Yeah, okay, so Dropsite, like, asked her about like her opinion on Saikat Chakrabarti running for Congress, and she said, "For me, overall, I'm trying to think about the role I'm trying to play more broadly in these things." Which, like, oh, here's the video. That'll be helpful for actually talking about this in a meaningful way.
Obviously, your chief of staff,
Yeah,
former
yeah.
chief of staff, is running in San Francisco. That primary is in June. Obviously,
yeah.
you're not going to have a reporter tell you to endorse, but like, is that something are you at least monitoring the race, looking at it? I mean, what's your stance on
Yeah,
Troy
I
Cott?
mean,
Because like, you have a close
Yeah, I
relationship.
think for me overall, it's more about I'm trying to think about the role that I am trying to play more broadly in these things. You know, we've got 435 seats in Congress, right? And there is this kind of moment where it's like when, and not just with this race, but with any race, once you go in, then it's like, what about this? What about this? What about this one? And I'm one person with, you know, a pretty amazing, crack, but also lean team. And so we're thinking about kind of like how much of myself I'm pouring into this, and how much of myself we want to make sure that we're, you know, pouring into the task at hand, like, you know, what we've got going on here. So, but I think that what I will say is that I think that the primary environment that we're seeing is really great. I think that progressives have already notched some really impressive victories this early into the primary season, and we've got another 6 or 7 months of it to go, and I'm looking forward to having a lot of new colleagues here in November that we can, you know, it's been a really lonely road for the first 8 years, and I'm really hoping that it'll be a little less lonely in November.
My boss has a book about that.
Yeah, this is a non-story to me. Like, what's very clearly happening here is that she's trying to keep her options open because she's eyeing a run for the presidency, right? Like, she's running potentially to be president of the United States in 2 years. the reason she would be a little bit cagey about whether or not she is endorsing this particular candidate who is running in Nancy Pelosi's old seat is largely, I imagine, because what she's trying to do is not step on too many toes with direct endorsements. You can very clearly tell that in this clip, she is talking indirectly about looking forward to new people joining Congress more aligned with her ideas. But I would wager a healthy amount that part of the game that she's playing, whether she's looking to unseat Schumer or go for the presidency, I would wager that part of her calculation is not making those explicit endorsements in ways that might alienate some establishment support that she would need if she wants to take a shot at these higher offices. I just wish she'd take Schumer's seat first. I understand that impulse, but I also think that, like, there is never going to be a better time for a socialist to try and run, or even like a democratic socialist to try and run for the presidency than like right now. You know, that's kind of where we're at right at the moment. Like, if she is looking at potentially running for president, like, the idea that conditions are going to be better or more favorable to her in 12 years, 10 years from now, probably not. This is probably about the best environment you could get to run for higher office right now. And like, I think that is what she may in fact do. Like, there are some rumblings in the party that she might do it. Because I sympathize with people who are afraid that if we get like Kamala Harris as president in 2028, like we're not going to see enough transformative action from our government in order to rectify the wrongs wrought by the Trump administration. So, yeah, also, like, right now, you have the wine moms in the streets calling for, like, a second French Revolution. You know, like, they're like, the blood of the aristocrats must run in the streets like the wine. Like, you know, like, you have a crazy amount of energy being displayed by liberals right now that is not going to persist for a long time after the Trump administration is gone. Like, they exist as a reaction to and to what is happening, but once that irritant is gone, many of them are going to go back to sleep. You know, nobody expects the French Revolution. Indeed. So, like, it is difficult because I think ideally AOC would have more time to cook, but I also think that, like, we infrequently get ideal scenarios, and it might be one of those situations where, like, the calculation is to go for the presidency, even though it's less than ideal. Why do you think other progressive commentators like Crystal Ball and the Vanguard have an issue with this AOC story? I'm an AOC fan, but they seem extra critical towards AOC. Well, because there's a certain contingent of, like, leftists who believe that AOC has, sold out the leftist cause and is becoming more and more establishment and is, basically selling out the left in order for her to gain power and prestige, etc. And I don't see her as selling out the left personally. I see her as playing politics. And in the game of politics, the Game of Thrones, you have to be pragmatic, and you very rarely get to be someone in politics who has existed for a prolonged period of time without making compromises in order to achieve your larger aims. Do you think I should join a caucus to influence support for AOC and DSA? Wouldn't hurt. So, like, I have viewed her for a long time as somebody who is, next in line to kind of inherit Bernie Sanders' torch. And I think that remains the case. Bernie Sanders is someone who made his entire political career about making compromises in order to achieve reforms to move his city, his state, his country in a more positive direction. And he's someone who has never given up the fight. And I view AOC as largely someone in the same vein. A lot of what I have seen from her that others would call like outright capitulation, I would say is less capitulation and more a calculated move in order to curry favor that she is going to cash in at a future date. She's making the deals that are necessary to then call in favors later. Yeah, Bernie Sanders has had to compromise. Absolutely. Bernie Sanders, you see it all the time. Like he's willing to reach across the aisle and work with like conservatives when it suits his cause. And like he's also willing to oppose those same conservatives when it suits his cause as well. And I think that AOC has been mentored in that same vein through Bernie. Bernie never couched his language in either presidential run, so why is my concern. I don't think she's couching her language. If I have to make this more explicit, I guess I will. I think that she has made a very deliberate decision, or even perhaps been told that there is, like, if you do not endorse, we will get you X. We will stand with you when X time comes. Whether that's a Senate race, whether that's a presidential run, I don't know. But my feeling from that was that she is deliberately holding back from giving an endorsement in this race for a reason. And it's not just for the hell of it. It's, I think, because she is trying to, have like an extra piece on the board to play. Yeah, exactly, Crypt Keeper Dan. Like, the Senate is like the most obvious play, but the window right now is a unique opportunity for her. So, also, just out of all the field of candidates potentially vying for the presidency in 2028, she's the most popular one. Like, she's the only person more popular and more recognizable than Kamala Harris. Do you think that those other progressive commentators are being too idealistic in their critiques and what they want from a future candidate, such as AOC? Well, so I think that there are some people, like what I'm trying to do with what I do here is I try and explain to you guys like what's happening, interpret it, give you my political analysis, and encourage you all to get involved in politics on the local level wherever you guys are, so that you can like in turn influence your local politics, etc. Right? And I think that there are other folks who view their role as differently from me, which is to try to move these candidates closer towards their ideal. And in this particular case, would I like it if AOC was like able to be more bold and brash and endorse this person in San Francisco wholeheartedly? Yeah, I would love that. But also, I want folks to understand why she might not be doing that. I do not get the impression from this drop site clip that she's doing this because she just secretly hates this guy. He's just such a piece of shit. Or she's doing it because, like, she just hates leftists. I get the feeling she's doing this because she's trying to curry favor with establishment figures that she might need in her corner when the time comes to make a play for a higher office. That's it. I think she has ambition, but I think that that's good in this case. Yeah, like if you're trying to run for president, you need allies. I think that might be one of the big things that, like, one of the big takeaways from Bernie Sanders' 2016 run is, like, Bernie Sanders did not have institutional support. And if he had curried that institutional support from just a handful more people, he might have become president in 2016. And so, like, I think what she's trying to do, if she is in fact, gunning for the presidency. And even if she's gunning for just Chuck Schumer's seat, like, I think that, like, AOC has made some sacrifices to try and further a political coalition to enable her to do something like get Chuck Schumer's seat or get the presidency. So that's what I think is happening here. So I understand why people are critical of what she's doing. I have seen nothing to indicate to me that she's selling us all out for, a cushy neoliberal job. I don't want another flash in the pan like Obama, who left a hole in leftist politics. Well, yeah, that's why we have to make sure any movement we build is self-sustaining, which is what an AOC run looks like to me. I disagree. I think it's very clear that, like, Bernie Sanders has passed off the torch to AOC, and, like, the organizing that Bernie Sanders has done has laid the groundwork for other successful leftists to make a bid for office. And in turn strengthened, like, local activism and, like, inspired me to reach out to you guys, to try and get you guys involved with your local political scenes, I think some of AOC's critics are bad faith, honestly. I mean, that could be. I think that there are definitely people who are more interested in, like, purity testing candidates in order to make themselves, look like the most pure virtue signaler of them all. But I think that, like, some people just don't fully have an idea of what she's doing. And I haven't seen what Crystal Ball said about this exchange, but Sweet Blasphemy says Crystal Ball wasn't trashing her or anything, just saying she felt AOC needs to work on her communication skills so she can take tough questions in stride, especially if she's eyeing the White House. Yeah, I mean, she sounded very tired in this drop site clip, so, like, I don't know exactly what the circumstances are here, but I would also say, like, yeah, if that is Crystal Ball's critique, then, like, yeah, I think that's a fair one. I think criticism is valid, but not at the purity test level. I think so too. Like, one of the good criticisms against AOC was about, like, her previous vocal support for, like, defensive munitions for Israel. And, like, she got a lot of criticism for that. And she changed her position, which is good. I think that she's one of those politicians that actually responds to good faith criticism. I am the one true leftist. Ah, ha, ha. She needs allies in the Senate, Jack. She already has allies in the Senate. My point being that, like, she's building up allies in Washington, D.C. broadly. She's one of the most powerful Democrats in Congress right now, just by virtue of her popularity. And, like, I don't disagree that time in the Senate would help her out to build up her political experience, but also she is afforded a very unique opportunity right now, right in this particular moment, to have a valid shot at hitting the presidency. And I think she might take it. This isn't to say, like, that is ideal. As I have said repeatedly, it is not. But I will say that, like, it is something that is real. And I don't think that AOC has to prove her worth in the Senate. I think she's done that repeatedly in the House. I don't know if Dem's going to nominate another woman after losing twice with them recently. Well, yeah, but that'd be obviously up for whatever the primary turns out to be. Like, whether or not she wins the primary, I think she's going to try to run for president. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, I guess. If she does, in fact, even wind up running for president. Crystal Ball said much more than that in a tweet and on a podcast about AOC. All right. I probably am not going to get a chance to watch that Vanguard video, but yeah, I right now, like, I'm streaming right now at like 1:30 in the morning because I do not have time. If I had time, I'd be streaming much earlier. But I take you at your word. Mostly, I try and focus on doing my own analysis rather than responding to other folks on the left who are broadly aligned with where I would like to go. Anyway, get organized, folks. Either way, we need people to get organized. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, get involved today. Join our Discord. We can help hook you up with your local DSA or your local Dems if you're having trouble getting started. And reach out to Gamergy for help with DSA. Reach out to your local Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. And also, folks, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Link down in the description. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff